So we're incredibly honored to have Michael J. Fox, the founder of the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research, and Debbie Brooks, who is the co-founder of the foundation. And since its inception in 2000, you have deployed $900 million or so for Parkinson's research, which is extraordinary. That rivals the US government's spending on research, and that's really quite an unbelievable record. So the first question really is, you know, you're a husband, a father of 4, you're an actor, but you're also the face of a major disease. You're a face of Parkinson's disease, and you're a champion for millions. How do you navigate those roles? And is there an overall strategy that allows you to say, you know, okay, I'm going to devote X to this moment and that?
Yeah, it's all be here now. It's just be in whatever role I'm playing, and whatever situation I find myself in. It just deal with that, and don't color it with all this other stuff. It's the way that I deal with Parkinson's itself is if I accept it, and I recognize it, and I look at it, and I'm honest with it, and I just say this is what it is, then it's got a certain size and shape, and I can depend on it being that, and it may expand and grow, but I can track it, I can keep track of it. If I don't recognize it and I don't accept it, it's just this amorphous blob of goo that it would seep into every cranny of my life and confuse things, and then I can't play the role of father or husband or actor or founder of the foundation because I don't have any clarity. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of keeping things simple, one step at a time, 1 foot at a time, and it carries on.
And you talk about choices. There's this quote, you said, I have Parkinson's, that's not my choice, but I have 1,000 other choices that I can make every day, and I'm not going to let the one non-choice weigh down the others. Right. Talk a little bit about.
Well, I think a lot of times I break down life as choice and circumstance, and it's kind of chicken and egg, what comes first. But let's say choice comes first. You make a choice, you find yourself in a circumstance. You now have other choices, and they'll take you to other circumstances, and you make those choices and you hope for the best. But you got to make the choice. You can't have the choice made for you because then you're powerless and you're drifting. But it's like it's one of those snake games, the Stratego or something, where you put a peg here and a peg here and a peg here and a peg here, and it forms a pattern, and that's your unique pattern based on your choice and circumstance. When I found myself in the circumstance of having Parkinson's at a young age, it took me a while to absorb it and to accept it. But once I did, then I made a series of choices, one of them being to start the foundation, and it's worked out well.
When you were 29 or 30 when you were first diagnosed, and it took a number of years before you felt comfortable coming out and talking about this disease, part of your challenge now as this champion for research is to get people to feel, hey, we need to come out right away and talk about it and be part of the research effort. How do you tell people that it's okay to talk about this?
Well, it's a really personal thing with people, how they get involved and how they express to the world their disease. As I noticed at 29, I first had symptoms. I'm now 57, 58. 58 is the age of the average first diagnosis with Parkinson's. So I'm now caught up with it. I'm now there. And it's no different in a lot of ways than the first day in that it is what it is. I mean, you gotta accept it and go on. But given that we're a foundation that was co-founded by a patient, we were very patient-oriented. When we first started, the perception of Parkinson's was that it was a disease for the elderly, and certainly a large portion of the people that have Parkinson's are of that age. And the younger people that had Parkinson's were not comfortable coming out and coming out to their bosses and coming out to their friends, and so they would tend to be reserved. So we knew we had a job early on to motivate patients to be agents in their own rescue.
Do you find that patients are becoming more integral to the research agenda?
Absolutely. Parkinson's patients we're the experts on what we have. You can meet 10,000 scientists and researchers, but unless they have Parkinson's, they read all the books in the world and dissect all the brains in the world and do all that stuff. They won't know what it's like to have Parkinson's. And so we have a responsibility as patients. If we expect these people to do what we need them to do, mm-hmm. They need to be fully informed, and they need to be informed on our experience. They need to be informed what works with us, what we respond to, what we can contribute. So we have patients wearing wearables that measure certain aspects of their daily routines, and we have patient involvement in things like trying to find a biomarker. So patients are a huge part of what we do.
It's exciting. You know, Fortune Brainstorm Health is really about the intersection of biology and medicine and technology. And the idea of wearables is a new thing, and being able to identify you know, symptoms in real time, and what excites you now? What's on the agenda?
We've actually had a handful of recent drug approvals, and that's been great news. They've been focused on treating symptoms that previously weren't really well managed by the drugs that we already have for Parkinson's patients. But we still don't have anything that has been proven to interfere with the underlying disease itself. And a lot of that challenge comes from us really not being able to objectively say what is Parkinson's. And so to be able to engage the patient community and have them be part of unpacking this very complex disease by being part of research. When you think about doing things like being able to put a wristwatch on a Parkinson's patient and a cell phone in their pocket, and then collect just terabytes worth of data every day about their movements, and then add that to the patient's reported self-experience. These are the kind of things that we think can really chip away at, if not break through, this lack of disease understanding. And so it's one of the ways in which we think it's really important to bring patients in, but it's also one of the ways that we leverage kind of the state of science today, the state of technology to the day, and the state of how we engage with patients that is facilitated by things like our digital platforms and stuff.
What surprises you now, looking back, about where we're at in Parkinson's?
I had such optimism and energy, and so we'd wrap this up in 5 years, 10 years, we'd get it done. And I didn't realize that we were starting with Kitty Hawk, and we wanted to build the space shuttle. And then we realized that pretty early on, that we had to rebuild the machine in a sense, and we made investments in certain places, and we realized that there wasn't communication between the researchers, and they weren't sharing information, and pharma and everybody, and we just realized we needed to get a big pile of knowledge, and then have people that need it come and get it when they needed it, and be able to use it and exploit it. And that's been our big thing, and then again it comes to the patient thing. We can have all this information, this clinical information, but unless we have the patient's experience and the patient's input, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, that's the match that starts the fire. You can get a big pile of stuff, and then you need the patient to light the fire and to be a part of the finding the answer. I'm so grateful for all the people, that patients and their families, and scientific community, and pharmaceutical community, and everyone that's embraced this challenge. It's just meant so much to me.
What surprises you about yourself? I mean, you've had Parkinson's since 1991. What surprises you about what you can do now?
I'm still standing. I found a way to like I said, I've just found a way to keep it in proportion, and find ways to flourish in the areas that it doesn't affect. I mean, it doesn't reach every part of my life. It reaches certainly the way I move, the way I walk, the way I mean, I lost a certain amount of spontaneity. There are losses, but there are equivalent gains, and whether it's in insight or experience or exposure to people that I wouldn't otherwise meet. Being incredibly privileged to see progress being made, and I mean, I don't realistically think that if we find the cure, I'm going to be around for the moment that's expressed publicly, but I'd love to hang in as long as I can in a comfortable way, and guide it along.
Debbie and I were talking earlier about this sort of challenge, because donors always want the cure, right? They always want you to push for the cure, but they want to be right on the cusp of the breakthrough. But obviously, this is a marathon.
Well, I think the breakthrough, we're going to probably come up with, you can jump in and correct me, but an attainable goal is to identify the disease before it's manifest, and that way we can treat it prophylactically, and it won't progress, and there'll be no symptoms and no progression.
So Debbie, Parkinson's is unusual in the sense it seems to be a constellation of different diseases, perhaps, or different factors that create a single disease entity?
I think most scientists and physicians think that Parkinson's is a broad syndrome, and so, but it's definitely referred to as a complex disease. We know multiple ways in which people can get Parkinson's, and it presents itself in a highly varied way, patient to patient. People respond to medications with great difference, and so we know it's complex. And this is one of the challenges that we've had: is how do we think about prioritizing treatments against what part of Parkinson's disease? And so when I think of one of the things that's changed pretty dramatically since the foundation started, is we have a much fuller picture of what we think Parkinson's is today. We've gone from thinking about the disease as a movement disorder defined by the classic rest tremor and toughness and difficulty in walking. We see it so much more broadly today. We know that patients are experiencing challenges with mood. We know patients are experiencing challenges with their GI tract. We know that there can be subtle challenges with cognition and executive function. People have depression. There are just so many elements to the disease that aren't just the classic motor features, and that's really helped. Those insights have led to more drug development around managing some of these untreated symptoms. And that's been helpful.
And not that long ago, you discovered some genes that were associated with the disease, in part because of the research money that you have deployed.
We have found genes that we know can cause the disease in extremely rare cases. And of course, we've found other genes that we know dramatically increase the risks that someone can get Parkinson's disease. And so these findings have led to entirely new areas of inquiry, and that's been fantastic. The drug development landscape today has been transformed, and a lot of it is due to having found new targets. It's brought pharma back in, and as you point out, we learn about these targets from studying the disease in patients, and this is still an area where there's a conversation going on with patients and families. It's kind of news to people that there can be genetic risk factors, and it's still something that's working through families to understand, do they want to know, and can they participate in research and participate in drug trials based on this news.
You just got a tattoo at age 57 for the first tattoo.
It was New Year's 1999 into 2000, and I went swimming and I saw a turtle, and it was kind of a damaged old turtle, and I followed him around for a while, and I came out and I decided to start the foundation.
That's amazing. Swimming through 5 hoops.
5 decades.
5 decades.
And it's just emerging, the idea of emerging and coming into something new all the time.